Okay, gang, it's a snowy white day here in Maryland on our second day of spring, so I thought this might be a good day to give this whole punch needle thing a try. I have my project set up on my hoop. It is, let's see, the Susan Bates. It's called the Deluxe Luxite hoop. It has this, whether you can see it, it has this lip type of structure that's supposed to, for punch needle, the fabric is supposed to be kept drum tight. And so this is one of the recommended hoops. We will see if it stays drum tight. One of the videos I watched said that you'll get annoyed very quickly with punch needle if it's not drum tight. So we'll see how I do. I haven't threaded anything yet. I have my, like I said, my hoop ready. This is the pattern I'm doing. I'm going to go ahead and thread. Now, this is from the website, The Old Tattered Flag, and I watched a couple videos. They're Punchneedle 101 and 102 on their website. You can either use, well, you can use, I guess, whatever amount of threads you want. The videos that they, in their videos, they used 6 threads with a height of 2 on the punch needle, and I guess I'll talk about that a little bit as much as I know. From the different punch needle things I've looked at, I think I prefer a finer look. This is done with the 6 threads on the height of 2, like I said, and it has a more, I guess, unrefined look. I'm not really sure what word to use. I think I like it more refined because I don't want to see the loops as much, but I'm going to go ahead and do this with the 6 threads set on 2, just to get used to it. And then we'll see, you know, then I can, once I figure out what I'm doing, then I can experiment. But I'm just going to start with the basics and go from there. So, threading the needle. I have this this comes with this needle. This is the Ultra. See if I can, here it is, find the packaging. It is the Ultra Punch. It seems to be the one that most of the different websites that I've looked at, videos that I've watched recommend. It has, like I said, the different settings on it. And this relates to how big the loops are on the front of the fabric. So you'll see on a size 2, the needle is sticking out that far. If I change it and push it the whole way up to a 12, it sticks out really far. So that means my loop would be that big. I believe that's what I mean. That's a little bit much. So I'm going to put it back down here on 2. To thread the needle, you stick this doohickey down into the center of the needle, and it comes out here down at the bottom. Do you see that? And so I stick my thread, my floss in there, bring it up through, take it out of there, and then it has to go through the actual eye of the needle. So you can see the eye is that little round hole there. So I'm going to stick my threader back through that hole. I obviously need 3 hands for this. Stick it through there and thread it through. And thread it through. And thread it through. Really, I am. Oh, come on. There we go. Okay. All right, so you can see it came up through there and then right back through that hole. So it's sticking out the other side. You leave like a inch tail hanging, so that's what I'm going to do. And if I remember correctly, I punch with this kind of where the floss comes up through and goes down through the hole. I punch with that facing Oops, my own screen. Yeah, I punch with that facing me. So, excuse me. Again, watching the old Tattered Flag video, she did recommend that off the pattern, whenever you're just starting to do like a little practice line to get a feel for it. So I am going to do just a practice line on this empty part of the fabric over here. This will be, I think, cut off when I come to finishing it. So I'm just going to do it off the edge here. I'm going to unwind some of the floss. The thing with Punchneedle, from what I understand, is you don't want to have any drag at all on your floss. You want to have it flowing smoothly. As soon as you have any tension on it, it kind of hangs up, and you feel that when you're punching. Now, she just used it directly from the skein. I have a feeling this might get a little knotted before too long, but I'm going to go with it. She was actually using like a DMC, so that would be more neatly. This is one of their hand dyeds, so it'd probably be a more neat skein than this is, but for now we're just going to go with this. The other thing I wanted to mention, I had mentioned in my video where I talked about doing a punch needle video that this hoop is a little small. It needs to be big enough so the entire project is within the hoop. You don't want to have it so that if you have to move the hoop that it would crush any of the loops. You can't do that with Punchneedle at all. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to give this a whirl with what I have, and if I do like it enough, then I will get a hoop that's big enough for the pattern and finish it on that. But this, I didn't want to get another hoop until I know for sure that I like it. So we're just going with what we have. Okay, so the idea with Punchneedle is you punch this down. Okay, oh, here we go. Like I said, I'm just going to do a line here. So I punch it down. Whoops, get it off of the, so it's not touching the glass. And then pull back up, and you don't want it to pull too far. And you just move down a few threads and go down and back up and down and back up. And you just move a few fibers of the fabric down. Now, she recommended, like I said, working off the pattern to get a feel for it, because a lot of times if you're new, you come up too far or you don't come up enough. If you do come up too far, though, it's not a big deal, because if you pull up, whoops, those are just coming right back out. I don't think it's supposed to do that. If it does come up too far and you have a big hoop like that, you just pull the tail back down, so you're back down in there. And do that. So let's turn it over and see what we got here. So those are, can you see that? Those are my little hoops. They're fairly stiff feeling, which I guess is good. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it really looks like the paper at all, as far as how defined the hoops are, I guess. But the directions do say that she said did 6 strands on a height of 2, and that's what I'm doing. So, okay, whatever. I'm gonna go ahead and, since this does come out so easy, I think I'm just gonna pop this all out, pull this tight again, which I guess is okay to do in Punchneedle, I don't know, and start working down here. So, I wonder if you make a mistake if that closes back up. Guess you can redo it, huh? That looks pretty good. All right, well. All right, so I'm just going to start working on the stripe. I have a feeling this is going to get pretty boring pretty fast, so we'll see how long I do this. All right, so there's my tail. I'm doing this. Lift it up off of here. And the fabric so far seems to be tight enough. Well, maybe not. I'm going to lift it up here. Can you still see that? Well, that just came right back out. All right, let's try that again. One of the videos I watched did say, whenever you're working on a pattern, don't punch right on the line, because you don't want to have, shoot, I don't think that's supposed to come out that easily. Anyways, you don't want to have, like the color that I'd be putting in here. If you put it right on the line, the colors kind of mix together too much and you lose the definition between the colors. So you want one of the colors on one side of the line and one of the colors on the other side of the line. I'm pulling up too far. I think one of the problems is this type of hoop. Be able to hold on to it with one hand. See, that just is coming right back up. All right, you punch people that have done this out there, you have to tell me what I'm doing wrong. Am I coming up too far? Is it that I'm stepping on the floss from before, from the last loop? Trying not to come up too far. Can you still see that? I assume whenever you stop, you just leave the needle in. Do you cut off the thread? That's a very good question. I'm going to be looking for advice, I think, from anybody out there who has done this. Getting my thread off. It's falling down and pulling a bit. I guess after a while you get more even in the, as far as the distance in between your loops. I'm holding this thing really tight. I feel like I have a lot of tension in my hand, so I think it's going to hurt pretty quickly. There's a bit of resistance as it's going down through the fabric, which I guess is good. I guess that means it's tight, or maybe that means it's too loose. I don't know. Again, experienced punch needle people. Love to hear your advice and what I can expect as far as my hand, or what does it mean. I guess I better make sure I keep my finger down below, away from that point, because it is fairly sharp. Don't need to be drawing any blood here with my first experience. That crinkling you hear in the background is a cat getting into some packing paper, because you know cats and crinkly stuff. Cats and crinkly stuff in boxes. That's what we have going on right there. Huh, Nina? She says, oh my goodness. I don't know who you're talking to, Mommy, but you scare me. All right, so there's the first line down. What do you think, people? Goes pretty fast. I don't know. Looks kind of sketchy. Let's work back. Let me figure out how to turn. All right, so I was coming this way. So I guess maybe I'll outline it and then work in. Does that sound like a good thing to do? I don't know where my opening is. There it is. Okay, so I'm going to come down here. Am I still on camera? I think I pulled up too far. Ah, so many things to think about. Oh shoot, I just pulled out that lump, or that loop. There we go. Okay, there. Alright, and then we're going to turn and come this way, and I know I pulled that out too far. And then I pulled the loop out too. Yeah. Okay, so lesson. Leave the needle in the fabric when I go to turn, or when I'm moving at all. Does that sound like a good lesson to learn? Sliding off my chair here as I'm trying to get closer and not be too far away and all that. All right. So, can't pull on the thread. So I know a lot of us got more or less amounts of snow on this second day of spring. I hope it's not too bad where you are. It's not too bad where we are. My husband did get the day off, and he is sincerely hoping for tomorrow off too. I will be surprised if they get tomorrow off, because it's the government. So why would they? I started a spring pattern yesterday, the Seasons series by Lila's Studio, all happily thinking, yay, spring is finally here, and then we get this. God is laughing at me. Alright, that came up again. I think it's because I kind of step on the floss from the previous loop. I don't know. This also is a little bit far away from me to be able to see it well. I mean, I can see it, but it's not as clear as I might like it for where my eyesight is these days. I can see where it doesn't take a... Oops. Okay, so that's what happened. Or I should say what happened is my floss got a little bit long, so when I went to stick it down in, it didn't stay in. Got to really concentrate on not picking the needle up too far away from the fabric. Oops, I'm getting tight on my floss here. Ah, shoot. Stay down in there. So yeah, what I was going to say, what was I going to say? Oh, I could see that it doesn't take long to pick up speed. I mean, you can get fairly comfortable with it fairly quickly, I think. I hope I'm still on camera here. I keep saying that because of the setup that I have. I can't really see the screen of my camera too well. Alright, turn. Oops, I should have left that down in there to turn, but oh well. Now the other thing that, oh, I pulled that out too far. Push that back down in there, pull it tight. The other thing that they said on the video that I watched yesterday, the old tattered flag video, was that when you're coming up along a previous laid row of loops, you want to leave about the width of the amount of floss you're using in between your rows. So you use kind of the floss width as a guideline. My floss is starting to get a little bit snarled here. So let me work at pulling some out. I don't know how I do this without dropping the needle. I don't know what that does for things, but okay. This is just trial and error. I could see with, especially with hand-dyed like this, that might not be skeined up real nice, that I would want to roll it into a ball first and maybe have it in a bowl or something when I'm working with it so it unspools nicely. because this is a little bit not nice. Okay, so I'm ready to start down this next row. I think I'm turned okay. My floss is falling. I have the faintest idea what you can see. Okay, there we go. Okay, so about the length or the width of the floss away. That might be too close. Here, over here maybe. But I think it has to be close enough to fill in any gaps you might have left in the last row. So I don't know. This is all just an experiment at this point, right? Although I'm getting more and more excited about really mastering this because I saw some more really pretty designs on Etsy this morning. There's some interesting stuff out there. In fact, there was one done with Paternian wool that had a really soft, delicate look to it, more so than you get with the floss. I need to explore that. If I decide to stick with this, explore that. Oh, it just keeps coming out. Explore that a little bit and see what weight of wool they use, because I certainly have an awful lot of wool that I could use. Shoot. It gets so tough when I'm pushing down in that when I pull it back out, I kind of got a springboard effect and I pulled it out too far. So that's kind of annoying. All right, let's see what we got here. All right, so you people out there that have done punch needle before, how's that look? There's some gaps there I don't like. It's not real even necessarily. Guess I'll keep going. I should have had some questions prepared, one of the tags prepared to talk about while I'm doing this, so that there's not a lot of empty space, quiet space, what would you call it? Of course, being the introvert that I am, I don't mind quiet time at all. I wish I never did do the Know Your Needle Worker tag. I guess I could try and remember some of those questions. I think that one pulled up too far. Try and remember some of those questions and answer them. I have this tension the whole way from my fingers here going up my wrist, up to my elbow, and up to my shoulder. So if this doesn't start to come more easily to me, I don't know that I'm going to really be able to do this for long periods of time. So again, you other people that do punch needle, how do you handle that? Do you have tension issues? Tension as far as muscle, not stitches. Is that what you call these? Are these called stitches? Or are they just called loops? So yeah, I'd like to know, basically, am I doing something wrong that I'm so tense? Is it because the fabric is getting loose that it's hard? Because it does seem like it's getting looser the more I punch, which isn't surprising. Oh, well, that was exciting, wasn't it? Okay, that gets pulled up here. That goes down in there. Let's see how we're looking. That's kind of fun, isn't it? I don't mind that. If you don't mind sticking with me, I think I'm just going to finish this stripe on the video. And then we'll see how it looks. If I can corral the floss. and do this so it doesn't get away. I'm still facing the right way. Okay, so know your needle worker. I remember that there's questions about movies and books and music and all that, so I'll talk about that for a while. Favorite type of book is, that was icky. Sorry, that wasn't my favorite type of book. Favorite type of book is historical fiction. I would say my favorite author is my husband, but I would be lying. Although I think his books are phenomenal, and I've read them all, of course, and I do enjoy his books. He doesn't write historical fiction, though. So my favorite author is Diana Gabaldon. I started reading the Outlander series. She probably had 2 books done when I started reading. Maybe 3, but no more than that. So I found her many, many years ago and thoroughly fell in love with Jamie and Claire. Yeah, so I've read the books multiple times. Every time a new book was getting close to being published, I would reread from the beginning. So I've read, the first few more times than I can count. And I actually have gotten to the point where I don't reread from the beginning because, quite frankly, it kills me quite a bit to read some of the things that she does to her characters. So, yeah, she is my favorite. I love just about any story that has to do with King Arthur, Merlin, that whole genre. My favorite series of that is actually by a Canadian author named Jack White, W-H-Y-T-E. He takes more of a historical angle with the story, putting it in Roman times, and that it kind of came about after the Romans left England, left Britain, and so I found that angle just really fascinating. I also love the Mists of Avalon and that whole rendering of it as well. So yeah, anything like that. So yeah, I also love fantasy. Probably my first favorite series was Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. I read those when I was a teen. So yeah, fantasy, a good, well-written fantasy and historical fiction are the kind of books that really catch me. Although I read other things, but I don't like mysteries. I don't really like contemporary fiction that much, like women's fiction. I've read some, and they're good. I think the problem is, I've mentioned before, I like big things. I like big projects with a lot of meat to them. It's the same with book series. That's why the Diana Gabaldon series has totally captivated me. Lord of the Rings. I like series. So single standalone books, I'll read them, but they don't catch my imagination quite as much. I'm just kind of filling in here haphazardly. I went backwards on that one. I'm probably not supposed to do that, but oh well. Can I go side to side? I don't know. Well, that didn't really stay, so I guess not. Let's see. Books, movies, action, adventure. I do like science fiction movies. My husband writes science fiction. I kind of started that. Science fiction, adventure, action type of stuff, but everything with a science fiction bent. He's a science fiction nut. He writes a mean story, boy. I don't know where he comes up with some of his stuff, but he is really good. Michael R. Hicks, if you're interested in that type of story, I highly recommend you check him out on Amazon. He has, most of his stories are series as well. So Yeah, I do love them, and he actually writes a really good love story. Anyway, I am one lucky girl. What was I talking about? Oh, movies. That's right. Action. Love the X-Men movies. Love the, the Marvel series. We love the Marvel series, mostly because not only is it a good story, but we love the humor that they put in the movies. We don't really go for comedies, mostly because most of the comedies these days are stupid bathroom humor. But the Marvel series does a really good job with humor in their movies. Of course, Lord of the Rings. We have watched that many, many, many times. It's probably an annual thing where we rewatch The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. I never get tired of that. And actually, the movies have kind of spoiled me for the books, because I think the movies are so well done that I don't need to read the books anymore. I know there's a lot more in the books, obviously, but yeah, there's enough other things out there to read. I don't want to reread the Lord of the Rings books. Let's see. I don't know what I'm really doing here. I'm trying to fill in these little holes, and I don't know whether it's working too well. We don't watch a whole lot of romantic comedies, mostly because I know Mike would be bored with that, and I don't really care one way or the other. There's some I watch whenever he's not around, and there's some I make him watch. Okay, oops, it's time for retreat. You probably can't hear that. We live right off of Fort Meade, so let's see. Boy, that's early today. It's only 5 o'clock and they're playing retreat. Usually they play it around 5:30 or 6. And in the morning we hear, what's the one called in the morning? I don't know. My brain isn't working. I'm looking for scissors. Okay, there we go. Okay, so there's my first little thingy done. So I don't know whether I mentioned, I don't know whether you're aware of this. Punchneedle, you work on the back, and so the front's on the other side. So there we go. There's my first little row of Punchneedle, and my hand is ready for a break. Definitely my wrist right in here. I can feel it. So I'm gonna stop there. I will probably pick this up and put it down over a course of the next week, and hopefully, well, I'll show you my progress. I doubt if I'll have it done, but I'll show you my progress by my next video, which will probably be next Tuesday. I'm going to keep going. I didn't hate it. I don't know that I love it. We'll see what happens when I add the other colors in. There's definitely some empty spots here that I'll have to figure out what to do about. But the Punchneedle saga continues. Like I said, if any of you out there who are like Misty, I know you've done Punchneedle, I'm sure there's others. If you have any answers to my kind of questions, I'd love to get your input. So I hope you all have a great evening. Stay warm, stay dry, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.